review for your 3-1 to 3-3 quiz. You're going to see questions similar to this, so make sure that while we do this, you're paying attention, and if you have any questions, you ask. First one we're going to look at is f of x is equal to 2x squared plus 4x minus 3. We're finding the vertex, whether or not it has a maximum or a minimum, the x-intercept, the y-intercept, the axis of symmetry, the domain, and the range. Your vertex, remember when it's in standard form like this, you can use what to find your h and your k. Your h is going to be, let's do it up here, h is the same thing as x. So here, how about this? Your vertex is the ordered pair h comma k. H is found by using negative b over 2 times a. K is found by using c minus b squared over 4 times a. Do we remember this? Kind of, no, not really. Yeah. Maximum or minimum, look at your first term in standard form. If there's a negative in front of it, it opens down. If there's no negative in front of it, it opens up. So that will tell you whether or not it's a maximum or a minimum. And your x and y-intercepts, remember, x-intercepts, y is going to be 0. Y-intercepts, x is going to be 0. Your axis of symmetry is your h from your vertex. And your domain and range, if it's a quadratic formula like this or quadratic equation like this, or function, it's going to be all real numbers for your domain, and your range bases off of your maximum or minimum point for your y value, and then whether or not the graph opens up or down. So your vertex, first find that. So for this one, your a is 2, your b is 4, and your c is the negative 3. So if we find h, that's going to give us the opposite of 4 over 2 times 2. The opposite of 4 is negative 4 over 2 times 2 is 4. So that's going to give us negative 1. So that's your h value. Your k is going to be c, which is negative 3 minus b squared. So 4 squared over 4 times a, which is 2. The negative 3 stays negative 3 minus the 4 squared is 16 over 4 times 2 is 8. 16 minus 8 gives us 2. So negative 3 minus 2 is negative 5. So your vertex is the ordered pair negative 1, negative 5. Your x-intercepts, you're going to have to FOIL this out in order to solve for your x. So we can set this equal to 0. 2x squared plus 4x minus 3, and then we can factor. The 2 times the negative 3 gives us negative 6. Your factors of negative 6 that add up to be 4, are there any? No, there isn't. So you can use your quadratic formula. So we're going to have x is equal to the opposite of b minus, plus or minus square root of 4 squared minus 4 times a, which is 2, times c, which is negative 3, all over 2 times a, which is 2. So it's going to be negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 16. The negative 4 times 2 is negative 8, times 3 is positive 24, all over 4. The square root of 16 plus 24 gives us x is equal to negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 40 over 4. That 40 is 4 and 10. 4 is 2 and 2. They pair up. 10 is 2 and 5. That stays under. So x is equal to negative 4 plus or minus 2 square root 10 all over 4. Your negative 4, your 2, and your 4 share a common factor. So that gives you negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 10 all over 2. So your x-intercepts are going to be negative 2 plus the square root of 10 over 2, comma 0, as well as negative 2 minus the square root of 10 over 2, comma 0. You can't simplify that because you can't simplify the radical of the square root of 10. If it was the square root of 20, then yes, you could simplify it and you wouldn't be left with a fraction. But it's not. It's just the square root of 10, so you got to leave it. Could be. Yep, you could. Okay. Your y-intercepts, plug in 0 for x, solve for y. It's also your c term. So your c term here is the -3. That gives us the ordered pair 0, comma, -3. Your axis of symmetry comes from the h value in your vertex. H is -1, so your axis of symmetry is x is equal to -1. Automatically, it's a quadratic formula or a quadratic function, so your domain is all real numbers. It literally looks like a U. So as it goes up, it goes to the left. As it goes down, or as it goes up and to the right, it's going to go from -infinity to +infinity. Does this parabola have a maximum or a minimum? A minimum. Your A is not negative, so it's opening up, which means you're going to have a lowest point, which is at the vertex. If you have a lowest point, that means that that y value on that lowest point is -5, and it's going to be going up from there. So your range is going from -5 to +infinity. And then we also said that we have a minimum, so on the top, remember just to circle that minimum. For number 2, we have f of x is equal to -4x squared plus 8x minus 3. First thing that we see there, you have an a of -4, a b of 8, and a c of -3. Your a is negative, so do you have a maximum or minimum? A maximum, because this parabola is going to open down. So you have a maximum point. That maximum point is going to be your vertex. Use what we did on the very top, that x, or h, sorry, is equal to -b over 2 times a, so that's -8 over 2 times -4. -8 over 2 times -4 is -8 over -8, which is 1. If you want to, you can also state now that your axis of symmetry is x is equal to 1. It comes from that x value from your vertex, so go ahead and do that. Get it out of the way.
Do you have to put x is equal to 1?
Yes, you have to put x is equal to. For your k, we have c, which is -3, minus the, b squared, so 8 squared over 4 times a, which is -4. So it's going to give us -3 minus 64 over -16. The 64 over -16 is what? -4, so -3 minus -4 is -3 plus 4, which is 1. So your vertex is 1, 1. You want to do your range now too, since you have your y value?
So it's just 1 and then
Well, is it opening up or down?
down.
Down, so it's going to -infinity. So start with the -infinity, and then it goes up to 1 and include that 1. So from -infinity to 1 with a bracket on that 1. Automatically, what's your domain? -infinity to +infinity. It's a parabola, so it's going to be automatic, all real numbers for your domain. The only thing you have to find now is your x and your y-intercepts. Y-intercepts, easy. What's your c term?
3.
The -3, so that's the ordered pair. 0, -3. Bless you. Find your x-intercepts. Can you factor this? If you factor it out, here, let's do it this way. Let's write it down. -4x squared plus 8x minus 3 is equal to 0. If you factored out a -1 to make this -1 times 4x squared minus 8x plus 3 is equal to 0. Your 4 times 3 is 12. Your factors of 12 that add up to be -8 are what? -2, -6. So this factors out to be -1 times 4x squared minus 2x minus 6x plus 3 is equal to 0. If we factor by grouping, factor out a 2x from here, factor in a negative 3 from here. So this gives us negative 1 times 2x times 2x minus 1 minus 3 times 2x minus 1 is equal to 0. So then this is negative 1 times 2x minus 3 times 2x minus 1 is equal to 0. If we set all of this equal to 0, you have negative 1 is equal to 0, 2x minus 3 is equal to 0, and 2x minus 1 is equal to 0. The negative 1 is equal to 0. Don't work with it. The 2x minus 3 is equal to 0 is going to give you that x is equal to 3 over 2. And the 2x minus 1 is equal to 0 is x is equal to 1/2. So I just moved the 3 over by adding it to both sides and then divided by 2. And then with the 2x minus 1 is equal to 0, I moved the 1 over by adding it to both sides and then divided each side by 2. So your x-intercepts here are the ordered pairs of 3 over 2, comma 0, and 1 over 2, comma 0. For your bonus, it tells you to find the vertex. So to find the vertex for this, again, for x or h, negative b over 2 times a. So that's the opposite of negative 1 over 2 times 2. Your a is the negative 2, is the 2, your b is the negative 1, and your c is the 4. So this is going to give us 1 over 4. Your y or k is equal to c minus b squared over 4 times a. So that's 4 minus negative 1 squared over 4 times 2. So that's 4 minus 1 over 8. That 4 has to turn into something over 8. So that's going to be 32 over 8 minus 1 over 8. So that's just 31 over 8. So your h and your k give you your vertex. So this is the ordered pair, 1/4, comma 31 over 8. You're just finding the vertex for this one. For your next set of questions, you're determining the end behavior of the graph of the function. Then you're finding the zeros and stating the multiplicity. For number 3, it gives you f of x is equal to x cubed minus 3x squared plus 2x. This is an odd power. So odd powers mean the graph looks like this, and your end behavior is going to be opposites. So this is going to be rising to the right and falling left. So for your end behavior, as x approaches negative infinity, where does y approach? Or in this case, it's f of x, I'm sorry. F of x approaches as y goes, or x goes to the left, y goes down. So your f of x goes to negative infinity. And as x goes to positive infinity, so to the right, f of x, or your y, goes to up, so positive infinity. So that part is your ending behavior. Yeah. You also have to find the zeros and state the multiplicity. So factor this. You have x cubed minus 3x squared plus 2x. You're going to set it equal to 0 and then just solve. Do you have a greatest common factor? X. So x times x squared minus 3x plus 2 is equal to 0. What are your factors of 2? That add up to be negative 3. Negative 2, negative 1. So this is going to be x times x minus 2 times x minus 1 is equal to 0. Set each part equal to 0. X is equal to 0. X minus 2 is equal to 0. X minus 1 is equal to 0. And solve them all. The x is equal to 0. That's a solution. Your x minus 2 is equal to 0. Add your 2 over. So x is 2. Your x minus 1 is equal to 0. Add your 1 over. X is 1. For number 4, You have f of x is equal to negative 4x squared plus 3x cubed plus x to the fourth power. This one is not in standard form. So you have to put this in standard form. That's the only way that you're going to be able to see whether or not you have a parabola, you have like a squiggly S-looking line. Like, you've got to put it in standard form. So this is the same exact thing as saying f of x is equal to x to the fourth power plus 3x cubed minus 4x squared. The power on the first term is even. There's no negative in front of that x to the fourth power, so your parabola is going to open up. For your ending behavior, which way is your line pointing to? It goes up on the left, and it goes up on the right. So this is the same thing as saying rising left and rising right. So when you go to give your end behavior, as x goes to negative infinity, as x goes to the left, where does f of x or y go to? To positive infinity.
You have to write that.
Yes, you have to write that. As x goes to positive infinity, where does f of x or y go to? In this case, positive infinity as well. So that's why, this is the reason why I draw the graph that I'm going to be working with, or draw the line that I'm going to be working with. So I know whether or not it points up, it points down, it points in opposite directions, so on. From here, you got to find your zeros. So take what you have there, which is the negative 4, or sorry, we can do it from standard form. Let's do it from standard form. It's going to be easier that way. X to the fourth power plus 3x cubed minus 4x squared is equal to 0. Factor out your greatest common factor to start. That would be the x squared. So that's x squared times x squared plus 3x minus 4 is equal to 0. Your factors of negative 4 that add up to be 3. 4 and negative 1.
Quadratic formula works for this too?
It does. Why would you use it though? You're going to waste your time. It's going to take a long time to do it. Okay. So that's x squared times x minus 1 times x plus 4 is equal to 0. You're going to have x squared is equal to 0. X minus 1 is equal to 0. And x plus 4 is equal to 0. Solve them. Take the square root of both sides. You have that x is 0. How many times is x 0?
All the time.
Twice. So x is equal to 0 with a multiplicity of 2. For the x minus 1 is equal to 0. Add your 1 over. That's x is equal to 1. With the 4, subtract it over. That's x is equal to negative 4. So then you have x is equal to 1 and x is equal to negative 4 with a multiplicity of 1. Do you need to write that one out? No. You can just give the x is equal to 0 with a multiplicity of 2, x is equal to 1, and x is equal to negative 4. For number 5, you have f of x is equal to 9x to the fourth power minus 54x squared plus 81. Is it in standard form?
Yeah.
Yes. So, what's your power? Your highest power?
4.
Which means it's a
Even.
parabola. It's even. It's a parabola. So that means that you are
Go on. Rising left or rising right?
rising left, rising right. Good. So for your end behavior, as x goes to negative infinity to the left, where does your f of x go? As x goes to positive infinity, so to the right, f of x goes to positive infinity. They both go to infinity. So that's your end behavior. You now got to find your zeros. So you have 9 x to the 4th power minus 54 x squared plus 81. Do you have a greatest common factor that you can factor out?
Yeah.
What?
9.
So that's going to give you 9 times x to the 4th power minus
6.
x squared plus,
9.
factor this. What are your factors of 9 that add up to be -6?
-3 and -2.
-3, -3. So this is 9 times x squared
9 times x squared.
minus 3 times,
X squared minus 3.
and this is still equal to 0.
Yeah.
From here, keep going.
And then you put everything equal to 0.
X squared minus 3 is equal to 0. X squared minus 3 is equal to 0. The 9 is equal to 0. Do you have to work with that one?
No.
There's no variable in it, so no. The x squared minus 3 is equal to 0. How many times do you see that? Twice. So whatever you get for your answer for these, it's going to have a multiplicity of 2. So the x minus 3 is equal to 0. Move your 3 over. Add it to both sides. You have x squared is equal to 3. From there, take the square root of both sides. You get x is equal to
3.
plus or minus the square root of 3. So you have this happening twice.
So it's the same thing.
So it is the same thing. So your zeros,
Multiplicity of 2.
x is equal,
Plus or minus square root of 3, multiplicity of 2.
good.
Yeah, like the answer wasn't there.
So long division. For number 6, you have 2x cubed minus 11x squared minus 2x plus 2 divided by 2x plus 1. You have all of your powers represented. You don't have any holes anywhere. So put the 2x plus 1 on the outside. The 2x cubed minus 11x squared minus 2x plus 2 on the inside. The 2x times what is 2x cubed? That's x squared. Multiply the x squared by 2x, that's 2x cubed. Multiply the x squared by 1, that's positive x squared. Subtract these, or like we kept saying the other day, add the opposites. Your 2x cubes cancel. 11x squared minus x squared is negative 12x squared. You also bring down that negative 2x and then start all over again. So the 2x times what is negative 12x squared?
6x.
So multiply the negative 6x by 2x, that's negative 12x squared. Multiply the negative 6x by x, or by 1, I'm sorry, that's negative 6x. Subtract these, or add the opposites. This gives us negative 2x plus 6x, which is 4x. We drop down the 2. That gives us the 2x and the 4x that are working together now. 2x times what is 4x? That's 2. So 2x times 2x is, or 2 times 2x is 4x, and 2 times 1 is 2. When you subtract these, you get 0 because they both cancel, and your only answer is that x squared minus 6x plus 2. Remember, when we did this section, if we had a remainder, that remainder would go over what's on the outside of your division house, and you're adding it to what you have on the top there. For number 7, we have 15x cubed plus 37x squared plus 53x plus 55 divided by 3x plus 5. Again, all of your powers are represented. You don't have any holes there, so put the 3x plus 5 on the outside. The 15x cubed plus 37x squared plus 53x plus 55 goes on the inside. The 3x times what is 15x cubed?
5x squared.
5x squared. So multiply it by the 3x and the 5. That gives you 15x cubed plus 25x squared. You are adding the opposites here. So those 15x cubes cancel. 37x squared minus 25x squared gives us, We drop down the 53x, and we start all over again. 3x times what is 12x squared? So that gives us 12x squared. 4x times 5 is 20x. We subtract or add the opposite. 12x's cancel. 53x minus 20x is 33x. We drop down the 55. And then we say to ourselves, 3x times what is 33x? It's 11. So 11 times 3x is 33x. 11 times 5 is 55. We subtract these or add the opposite, and they cancel. So our answer is the 5x squared plus 4x plus 11. With your remainder theorem, remember with these, you're going to be given a p of something or an f of something in this case. You're plugging that in for x. With your remainder theorem, you take the number that's in the parentheses, put it in your box, use synthetic division. Whatever your remainder is your answer. Make sure all of your powers are represented. For this one, you have f of x is equal to 4x to the 4th power minus 16x cubed plus 5x squared plus 9. You're missing the x, so you got to add in the 0x. So this is 0x plus 0x there. From there, you are going to use the number that you have in the parentheses. For number 8, you have a negative 2. That's going to go in your box. The numbers to the right of that are going to be the coefficients and the constants, including that 0x in the formula that's given to you. So you're going to have 4, negative 16, 5, 0, and 9. Drop down the first term. Multiply it with the number in the box. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. From here, the negative 16 minus 8 gives us, multiply that with the negative 2, that is, add that with the 5, we get
53.
53 times negative 2.
Negative 101.
106. Add that with the 0, that's negative 106. Add or multiply that with the negative 2, that gives us
Negative 212.
plus 9,
221.
221. So that is your answer. So f of negative 2 is 221. For 9, we're going to put 5 in the box. You're going to use the same numbers. So 4, negative 16, 5, 0, and 9. 4 drops down. 4 times 5,
20.
minus 16
4.
times 5, plus the 5,
25.
times 5.
30.
125
125.
times 5,
625. 625.
plus the 9,
620. 34.
634. So P, or sorry, the F of 5 is 634.
Oh, it's big moves. Don't play with me. Wait, that's all.